Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be looking at a few things. A lot of this is based on premonition. I've been talking with a lot of people in the community on chat and on streams, and a lot of my videos are going to be pretty much dealing with a lot of the ideas that we push back and forth to one another. So if there's an idea that you shared with me, don't be surprised if you see it as the topic of a video if I allude to it, because I feel like we need to have these conversations, because right now the clock is, ticking. Next gen's coming. The Division 2 has to maintain some level of relevance. I know when I say it, some of you laugh. Because the game is not relevant to you doesn't really mean it's not relevant to a good part of the player base. I mean, you can watch my streams and you're going to see a lot of community participation. Matchmaking goes fluidly. If you're on peak times, you're going to meet people to play with depending on your region. Those are some of the things we figured out regarding that. Now, I want to talk about possible and potential content that I feel will most likely make this game a complete package by the end of when they drop all this content. The thing I know is, for sure, we know, or we sense that a lot of people are probably not working on this IP within Massive, and they're working on, perhaps something else. I've, kind of said it might be a Division 3, whatever. But the rest of the content that we're looking at, we're talking about this in stream, are some of the content that have been whispered in the community. I think some of them have been talked about in State of the Game, and they're currently missing right now in the community. And first of all, the first layer is the Strongholds that are Manning National Zoo and Tidal Basin. These are strongholds, but they're missing one final piece to the puzzle, and that is a legendary mode for them. If you look at the other strongholds, which are District Union Arena, Capitol Building, and even Roosevelt Island, these three have a legendary mode for their missions. And, I think it's one really interesting thing that they have legendary modes and people are able to play them because, each week, you have a legendary difficulty and, you have an exotic cache that comes with it, but we're also missing these two. Now, if they're going to bring the legendary mode for these two, they must also be aware that they cannot miss out on the potential of making legendaries worth playing, because right now the Bighorn is pretty much the only attraction, and potentially max road loot, not even guaranteed, but potentially you will get some max road loot in a legendary run. And I think that's probably where it's going to need to get. We're going to need to get an introduction of perhaps new exotic weapons or maybe new exotic gear that is now added to the legendary stronghold pool. Or in the case of, when they release the summit, you'll most likely be also able to get those items over there. And so that's just the first part. The legendary missions need to come to the strongholds. Now, I've also seen other proposals of people talking about legendary missions need to, finally arrive on every mission. But I don't really know how much of a time frame that's going to take. I think the strongholds are a much faster, if you understand what I mean, execution rather than all the missions within the game, because my goodness, that's going to really take a whole bunch of time. The second layer is Kinley College. Now, Kinley College usually goes through these timed events, and it's always kind of been an off-putting, mode for me personally. Once I got my diamond back, I was out of there, if you get what I mean. I didn't, bother myself or whatever it is. I just got my diamond back and I, skedaddled. And with the new, code name thing that they're bringing out, they tease something, Nightmare, for Kinley College. That's going to be a kind of a timed event that's going to be coming during the holiday. I think that's probably their opportunity to start to actually rework this mode and get it to a place where they can start testing out some really fun things. Somebody on my channel commented today that one of the huge potentials that they can use for Kinley College is make it an incursion. Another person commented and said this might also work to be some kind of a survival mode. Now, to be very frank, the second aspect of it being somewhat of a survival mode sounds really cool, but I think if they want to implement a survival mode, it needs to basically hit the entire map. If they're going to do that, that's what's really going to make it a very grounded experience. And, they can go all kinds of crazy directions. It could be one region within the map, but, there has to be those components that make survival exactly what it is. And so my, leaning is that this needs to be potentially an incursion of its own, because now the world is already there. the mechanics are already within the game, and they can go in there and actually add and modify mechanics to actually make it pretty good. And then you have the summit, which is also going to be coming, and that's, I think, the third layer, where they can now start using the summit to do a bunch of different cool experimental aspects, where maybe within the seasons or within global events you can do some really cool stuff with that summit mode, and eventually make the gameplay a lot more interesting. And I think these will have to come not only by themselves, but with the, I would say the guarantee that loot is going to be better and sensible and meaningful in the game, and also very rewarding when you actually engage in these modes. Because sure, you can bring out modes as much as you want, but there are those underlying issues. As as glaring as they are, it's not deterring a lot of the player base, nor is it deterring new players from enjoying the game. But it's still something that needs to be, looked at very seriously. I really do, wish that we still had, Thailander, that we could be talking a lot more to him, but I think he's already working on something else. But we do have Bruce. Bruce is really innovative. He's shown that he's able to bring, some really cool stuff to the game. But then, we have the problem about balancing. And then I think a final thing that, is a layer of content that the developers can actually bring to the game to really change the landscape is a dedicated or partial PvP mode that will come with some level of the expansion. And I think that survival aspect is where it's at, where the entire map really does change, like in Division 1, you can go to a PvE survival or you can go to a PvP survival. This is going to really make the PvP community happy. PvP has not seen any content in a while, only balances and changes, and it's really been relegated to the one side of the map. I prefer survival PvP because it really does take away a lot of the balancing issues and puts them in a different pocket, while it gives players the freedom to be able to compete via different means, because they drop you on the map. You're the one, your knowledge of the map and your knowledge of the gameplay and mechanics are going to be what really does help you to go find resources, gather, farm weapons quickly, and be able to, deal with the environment and deal with other players. That's what really made survival very fun. And I think a lot of PvP players will really, appreciate a mode like that. Yes, you're not going to be using all the gear and everything that you farm, but what if everybody had to try to make their way to the base of operations in order to be able to get into their stash? Well, they can make it that way, and then the whole map can fight to eventually, find some objective or do something. That's all based on what Massive wants to do, and I'm optimistic that they're probably going to be doing something. I don't know specifically if it's going to be all the things that I've actually said, but I'm still looking forward to it nonetheless. Now, I know I'm probably going to see that comment that says, you're just wasting your time. Massive is not going to do this. Yeah, I saw those comments last week, but here they are teasing all kinds of stuff all the way through December, because like I've said many times, it's very difficult to drop an IP like this out of, nowhere. They really have to harness this IP. They need to get it to, be forward compatible with next gen. They need to actually enhance it for the PlayStation 5, because it does work well on the Xbox, but on PS5, it really does need some optimizations. And I think with all of that in mind, and with the potential that they have to continue to bring in the player base, continue to even draw the old school player base that have left because they haven't seen PvP and a lot of those things that, they've been desiring, I think there's a lot of, potential here. I think there's a lot of room for growth for this game and to serve its own community. It's not going to have mainstream appeal. I'm not stupid to think that. It already only has the appeal of its own community, and I think that's where it needs to continue to go, regarding how it continues to proceed. And then, I think down the road, after all of that, there's going to be a Division 3. Many people don't seem to agree. They think it's out of the question. Some people don't want it. To me, I really don't mind either way. If there's going to be a big Year 3 expansion, or if there's going to be a Division 3 before, and no Year 3, it doesn't really bother me nonetheless. I just want to see Division continue to, go strong, if you get what I mean. Anyways, that's it for me. That's the end of my video. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about these different layers of, possible content that could be coming in the game? I know many people have different preferences on how they would like to see them executed, but at least we need to see something first. And, is it possible that we will see these things, or is it just out of the question and it's just never going to happen? Let me hear your thoughts nonetheless, and I'll be excited to, engage in conversation in the comment section. So thank you very much. I'm out of your hair, and hopefully we'll see in another video. Peace.